Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Again, I am Floyd.
Hi, Floyd.
And he's here to introduce Yoshi Kanaya.
Yoshi Anaya.
Son near great is not great yet. It's just near great. So what you may see won't be excellent, but it will be near great.
Excellent! The Stonecutter. Ooh, from Japan. Once upon a time, a long time ago, must have been at least last Tuesday, in a faraway land, the Far East, so far that it was west, there was a stonecutter. And he knew all about the different kinds of stones and the tools and the purposes for these stones. And he was a careful worker, and he had many customers. Now, outside the village that he lived in, the people would talk of a mountain spirit. A spirit that would come down from the mountains and grant people wishes and prosperity when they asked for it. But the stonecutter, he never believed in the mountain spirit and shook his head in disbelief whenever anybody talked of it. But a time was coming when he may change his opinion. Now one day the stonecutter was bringing a stone to a rich man's house. And when he got to the rich man's house, he saw many things, many beautiful things that he had never seen before. One of the things that he saw was a beautiful bed. And he thought to himself, oh, if only I could be a rich man. If only I could be a rich man with a big, beautiful, soft bed to lie in. Then I should be so happy. And the mountain spirit heard his plea. And he said, your wish is heard. A rich man you shall be. And the stonecutter heard this, but he thought nothing of it. He thought it was all his fancy. But as he worked, he decided, I've had enough for the day, and he packed up his tools and he went home. And when he went home, he was astonished, for what had once been a little shack turned into a great palace. And he was amazed. And he went inside, and there was a large marble floor and silken curtains. And best of all, there was a big bed for him to lie in. And he thought, oh, this is all my heart can desire. What more can I have but be a rich man? And so the seasons went on, and the sun shot down hard upon the village. And the stonecutter decided one day to go home and relax. And he went back to his mansion, and he was rather dull, for he never had anything to amuse himself with by. So he spent the day looking outside his windows, looking outside of his curtains, and he saw outside, a huge entourage. He saw a prince. And he had an entourage before and behind him. And he had a great carriage that they carried him through the village. And he had a big purple umbrella that he used to shield himself from the sun's rays. And he said to himself, "Oh, that I were a prince. If I were just a prince, I would be so happy." And the mountain spirit once again heard his cry, and he said, "Your wish is heard. A prince you shall be." And a prince he was, with an entourage before him and behind him, and a carriage, and a huge purple umbrella, the coveted umbrella that he kept over his head to protect himself from the rays of the sun. But this was not enough. He started to look around, wondering, what could I be? And he noticed that when he poured water on his grass, the sun scorched away the wetness. And every day, despite the umbrella that he had over his head, the sun turned his face browner and browner. And he thought, "Oh, I should be the sun, and more powerful than any." And the mountain spirit heard his plea. He said, "Your wish is heard. The sun you shall be." And the sun he was. And he poured his rays down on earth and heaven. And he scorched the land. And he dried the sea. And nobody was more powerful than the sun. Until one day, a cloud came through, covered up his rays. And he thought to himself, "Is a cloud more powerful than I? I shall be a cloud, and more powerful than any." And the mountain spirit heard his cry and said, "Your wish is heard. A cloud you shall be." And he was a cloud. And he stood proud in his glory. And for a while he was happy. And he quenched the land. And the flowers grew and the grass grew beneath him. But it still was not enough. He poured for days on the earth. He flooded land and village. Rice paddies were flooding. And everybody was running, and the only thing that was unaffected by the cloud was a great rock that stood on the side of a mountain. Is a rock more powerful than a cloud? I should be a rock, and more powerful than any. And the mountain spirit heard his cry. And he said, "Your wish is heard. A cloud you shall be." And he was a cloud, and he was proud. He stood between the earth and the sun, and he captured the sun's rays, and he held them. Except, it was really turning into a rock. And he was a rock. And he stood the sun and the cloud. And nobody could touch him. The great rock on the side of the mountain. Until one day he heard a sound. A chip chipping away at the side. And he trembled as he looked to his foot. And he saw a great piece of him fall off. And it was a stone cutter. Chipping away at the side of the mountain. Is a child of the earth more powerful than I? I would be a man, and more powerful than any. And the mountain spirit heard his cry. And he said, "Your wish is heard. A man once more you shall be. And he resumed his trade of stone cutting. And though his bed was hard and his food was scanty, he never once again desired to be what he was not. And he never heard the voice of the stone, the mountain spirit, again. Thank you very much.
Yes,